Hey there, it is Kat Ramirez and I am live. Yay. I feel like I should do something like, what is it? There was a movie I wanted to watch this weekend and he was like, Good morning, Vietnam. If anybody knows the movie, drop the line. Uh, but it's Monday and it's Monday afternoon here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it's a little gloomy after a beautiful weekend that we had. And I actually got a chance to go out golfing. Yay! So I actually golfed 2 times this weekend, and it was nice and it was fun. It was good to get out, which I can appreciate. But I am here today, and I just want to make sure I'm live. And if you are hearing me live, give me a thumbs up. Let me know where you're either listening or watching from. Also, if you have any questions for today's topic, please drop me a line. Please let me know because Megan's here to answer any questions. So my guest is Megan McCray. She is the CEO. I'm going to bring her on. CEO and founder of SideKick Accounting.
Hello.
Hi, Megan. And so the last time Megan was on, Megan had a huge success. A lot of people reached out to her. A lot of people had a lot of questions for her. And so I wanted to bring Megan back again because we're going through the second round of this funding. And I know a lot of people are starting to see the funds now get deposited. But also there are some people that still have yet to hear from their bank or the SBA and things like that. So we just wanted to have a conversation. And again, if you have any questions, please drop a line because Megan's here. Let's ask her now while we have her. So Megan, nobody knows you. Even though you were on a couple of weeks ago, assume nobody knows you and give everybody the rundown of who you are and what you do.
Okay. I am Megan McCray. I'm the owner of SideKick Accounting Services, and so we specialize in small business bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, payroll, and pretty much all the in-between. We deal with businesses from anywhere between startup and probably a few million in revenue. And the reason why it's such a huge range is because we offer different services and different packages based off of your individual need. We stress building relationships with our clients and really educating them in how to use their numbers on how to use the numbers in order to create a profitable and successful business. Our main goal is really to change the statistic that 8 out of 10 businesses fail.
Oh, good. Awesome. So you're an advocate for businesses, which is wonderful. Now, you service companies no matter where they are, right? All over the place.
Correct. Yep. We have most of what we do is virtual, or probably nearly probably 99% of what we do is virtual. So we service clients throughout the U.S.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Now, so since the first time that we chatted and the first round of funding, what is your sense? What are you hearing from businesses of the common question over and over that you're hearing?
So the biggest question that I think I hear is, how can I check my status for my application? And there's not a super helpful answer to that, but the best way to do it is to follow up with whoever you applied through. So whatever bank or lender you applied through, see if you can shoot them a message and be persistent about it to get some kind of an idea of where your application is. The good news is that with the second round of funding, most of the people that wanted to apply and were ready to apply already applied during the first round. So it seems like the second round is moving a lot quicker, which is really great news, especially if you dragged your feet or didn't have everything together. Now you can still apply. The funding hasn't been used up yet, which is great. Yep. So if you are still planning on applying for that, go ahead and do that now.
Yes. And from my point of reference, I applied to 2 banks because I was also told that don't think you can't apply to more than one because you can turn it down once you get it, especially if somebody's coming in faster than the other. And both banks were really good about updating me. In fact, I'm not plugging the banks, but they were really, really good. So US Bank has been sending me an update almost like every other day, like, Kat, you're in queue, Kat, this is where it's at. And I love that. And then where Summit Credit Union has called me and emailed me and letting me know where I'm at. So, I think and those are two probably good examples, because one is a huge bank and one is a really, really small bank. And that's why the small bank can personally call you,
Right.
but I think it says a lot about the bank, because they can feel my pain or anybody else's pain. And they know that we're trying to get this fund so that we can pay our employees and keep the money going in the economy. That's the whole purpose of it, is to keep the money going, right?
Yeah. Yep, it is. And I know there was a lot of frustration when with the banks, especially initially, because I think in some ways people were kind of in almost a panic, because I know people were like, you got to apply now. The money's going to be gone. The money's going to be gone. You got to apply now. So I know a lot of people, especially like the smaller businesses, were really getting really frustrated about it. But they received thousands and thousands and thousands of applications, and there had to be people behind that processing. Right. So I know where some of the frustration came from was like people who didn't have relationships with an actual banker. Yep. I think people who had relationship with an actual banker and stayed in communication were kind of pushed through first. If anything, that's to reiterate the thing that's been always told by any kind of business consultant or funder is like, have a relationship with your bank. Have it before you need it. Because this has been a great example of why that's so important. But I am glad now that they're starting to get through those applications and they're going through the queue now. So that's great that the banks were updating you, Kat, because I know when you don't get any kind of communication, that's super frustrating. And I've heard the same thing, that a lot of banks are doing better about like giving a status update to where things are.
Right. And so I agree with you in regards to you've got to just keep asking, the point people, where is it? Because I also was reaching out to the SBA, and they were very kind to take my call and say, do you know your number? Things like that. So they were very, very helpful. So if anybody is feeling pain or you can't get through, my advice is, as Megan said, you've got to start building a relationship with these people that are trying to help you. They don't know you or may not know how to get a hold of you. And I also have a girlfriend who is in the banking system, and like they're calling, like people that did other jobs are being called to help facilitate these process because they've been bombarded,
Yeah. Yeah, so I know I got emails, and I know some of my clients got emails at like 8:00 on Saturday from these bankers because they were working or they have been, I'm sure they probably are in some capacity, been just working around the clock. And I know the SBA brought on extra people to help process the loan applications as well. So I think that's something to just kind of keep in mind, is somebody has to actually do the processing of these. They have to be looked at. And I mean, they're not even doing a deep dive. The calculation is totally on the owner of submitting those applications. So make sure you're doing your calculations correctly. But, they're just glancing over that, making sure you have the documentation, and then pushing those through so that you can get the funding, as soon as possible. Because we are all sitting kind of in that same boat. And it's been, well over a month now that we've all kind of been in the same position. So they know it's necessary and needed.
Right, so. Exactly. And so my thing in regards to that, I would have to salute any bank worker, because I know that they're doing overtime, as well as any SBA employee, because, that's a lot of work, and that's a lot of people that they're trying to assist and help. So beyond that type of challenge that you're hearing from people, are there positive stories? Because of course we got to hear the positive stories. Are you seeing positive stories as a result of the waiting and helping people and all this?
Yeah, I've heard a lot more small businesses, sole proprietors, independent contractors are getting funding, and they're getting it pretty quickly. So I know past week, we had a tax client that came on and she was like, I need my 2019 taxes done so I can apply for the PPP. And so I had asked her today if she was able to get that pushed through because we finished her taxes last week. And she said yes. So she got it approved and she's expecting funding in the next couple of days. So it is moving. People are getting funded, and I'm really glad that some of these like smaller businesses are, because I mean she's a real small kind of almost she does like shirts and stuff. So she got approved for $1,900. So in the grand scheme of things, that's not that much money, you know, but it's enough for her. And that's probably the where most smaller businesses are probably going to land somewhere in there, because it's supposed to cover two and a half times whatever your annual or your monthly income is. So the way that they're figuring that out is by taking your 2019 tax total, your net income for that year, and dividing that by 12 and then multiplying it by 2.5. And so that's where that number is coming from.
Right. And then also this is something to note is because, okay, so here's the thing, because it is a moving target and the rules keep changing and changing. So, because last week I heard from 2 businesses that are completely closing, because they can't endure it anymore. They had to close the business. They can't afford the rent. They can't afford to just hold off and wait. So my advice to anybody listening or watching is, if you are on a cusp, I would say try to get the funding. Hold out. Because if you can get this funding and it can buy you some time, by God, let it buy you some time, because this is people's blood, sweat, and tears. And I know that's a really tough decision for the 2 people that I heard from, because you put so much time, energy, and muscle into your business to contemplate closing it is like, I mean, it's just horrible. So, you know, my suggestion to anybody, if anybody is watching, is if you have, because I hear a lot of people say, I don't qualify, I'm not going to qualify. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if you've heard that, Megan.
I haven't personally heard it too much, but I'm sure that's probably the case, especially for like business owners in the LLC sole proprietor. If you were claiming a loss on your taxes every year, or at least for 2019, you wouldn't qualify because you didn't show any income for 2019. And so that I know it can be a really big frustration, especially because sometimes business owners get in this mentality like, I can't make any kind of a profit on my business because then it saves me money in taxes. But like I've always told people too, like making money in your business isn't a bad thing. You just have to plan for the tax implications that will happen. So knowing your numbers is important in that respect, because then you kind of know where you're at. But in this particular situation, it is unfortunate, because if you were claiming a loss on your taxes, now you're not eligible for PPP. However, I will say that there is a lot of other resources that are available out there with some of the communities. Like Wauwatosa had a grant that they were doing, and the city of Chicago, from some of my other clients, have a resilience fund as well. And then a lot of the Chamber of Commerce's have revolving loans. Kiva is a really great option as well. Kiva is a crowd-funded type of loan. So you get friends and family to loan you $25, and then it gets opened up to the entire world for people to fund yours. And it's a 0% interest loan. So that's another great option to kind of go on that avenue. I know this past weekend, I just did a $25 loan to somebody who has a salon in, I think, Kenosha or something like that. Because they are trying to keep their, some kind of profit going to get them through this time. And so that's a really great option. If you are not eligible for the PPP, you would be able to still do those kind of things as well.
Yeah. Plus the SBA does have a relief loan.
Yes.
But you just have to manage through it and apply, because,
Yeah. And right now I think applications are closed because they're going through all of the applications that were received. But I'm pretty sure that's probably going to be reopening back up. They're just trying to get through the queue that they had. They had 4 million applications. So that part was closed when the first round of PPP funds were taken off as well. So those things kind of closed at the same time. But I'm sure that's going to be opening back up. So if you haven't already signed up for like the SBA notices or have talked to the SBDCs in your area, definitely look into doing that, because they'll keep you updated with where things are at.
Right. And then the other thing to make note of, or to really kind of talk about, is because I saw this and a reporter brought it up, and I thought, you know what, this is a great conversation. It's more than just the relief right now. We got to talk about what's the relief going to be when this opens up again too, because it's not like we all jump right back into business and boom, we're all happy. It's not going to happen like that. There's no way it's going to happen like that. So it's not like the government's going to expect or try to get this funding back immediately. There's no way.
No. Yeah, and with the PPP, after you apply for forgiveness, if for some reason you don't apply or get approved for the whole amount of forgiveness on that, you would have 2 years to pay it, but you don't have to pay anything for 6 months. And the same thing with the EIDL loan. If you have that, they're putting off a 6 month deferment, and that you can get up to 30 years to pay. So that's a much longer term. But a lot of these places are deferring anything for at least 6 months. I know if you decide to do like the payroll deferment that they're offering right now, that you don't have to pay until December of 2021. Yeah. So, like that's a year and a half from now that you have to worry about that. So that's good. And I'm sure, depending on how the landscape of everything goes and the announcements by state, if this has to get pushed out longer, I'm sure they're probably going to end up pushing things out longer as well. Yep. So the SBA is really doing a great job of staying involved. I know they've been doing tons and tons and tons of webinars. So like they're really for making sure small businesses are successful and are able to last through this uncertain time. So that's that's a really great thing to know, is like they really are working on everybody's behalf, all the small business owners' behalf, to make sure that the majority of us get through this.
Yeah. And so I think the message I would say over and over is don't self-eliminate yourself. Apply. Let them turn you down. You know?
Yeah.
And because they're going to ask you the questions they need to ask you, for you to get these loans. So do not self-eliminate. I think the last thing I would hate to hear is for another business to call me and say, I'm closing. There's nothing I can do, Yeah. So because there are resources out there, and you just have to get access to them and know what they are, And again, Megan's a great resource, and you are still doing your lives, right? You're still doing your lives and your Q&As, right?
Yes, I did one this morning.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. And you're doing them on what, Monday and Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you want to catch Megan on hers, are they on your business page? Where are they?
They are on our Facebook business page. Yep. So SideKick Accounting Services.
Okay.
Is where, you would have to look at.
Right. And then you are also helping people too, as they sort through applying and trying to get funding, right?
Yep. We're here as a resource for anything that you might need. Any questions you might have, we can definitely help you with that. I have a template for helping to calculate the PPP information. So if you need anything like that, please let me know. We're available for any questions or any assistance you might need.
Yeah. And then I also had an attorney who was helping and advocating for people to apply for these loans regardless. And she said that the other tiered resources, like you had mentioned them in your post, the Gusto, the Intuit, the Fundero, there's a bunch of them that are taking, like if you don't have a bank, like a lot of solopreneurs, unfortunately, like don't have an established bank, or if you're in that situation, I would reach out to these and apply right through those outlets.
Yeah, and they have a pretty simple process. The one thing that I would say is if you have an EIN, you need to have your articles of organization available or your EIN letter. So make sure you have those documents. And then your driver's license was another thing that I was seeing pop up that they wanted as verification, along with the calculations and then payroll documents if you had that. So yeah, it's Fundera, Cabbage, Intuit, Gusto, I think there's another one that I'm probably missing, but I think all of those links are available on the SBA website as well.
Right. So again, other resources where if you don't have a primary bank, because a lot of times these banks are dealing with their customers first and then new customers.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Or even if you haven't heard back from your bank, so you may have applied, to your point with applying with 2 banks. I know originally they were telling people not to apply with more than 1 bank. So I think that was what a lot of people did. And then they got panicked because they didn't hear anything back. Right. But if you haven't heard from your banker or bank, I would use one of those other things. And I think PayPal is the other.
It is PayPal. Yep. It's PayPal.
So, yeah.
So that's what I would highly recommend. So I feel really bad because StreamYard is having trouble. I'm getting a message from StreamYard that the comments aren't coming through.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I'm not able to see any comments that are coming through, because normally you get a ton of them. Yeah. I know people are watching because I can see them popping in and out. And but I can mention some of the comments that are getting on LinkedIn because I am getting those through. Joseph Fish says, "Wow, Megan is back. Yay. Thanks for watching, Joseph. I appreciate it." Alex gave me a golf swing. Yay, thanks. You must be a golfer too, Alex. David gave me a thumbs up. Hey, David, thanks for watching. Michael says, very informative and very appreciative. And then Dr. Courtney says, instrumental information, really appreciate it. So lots of thumbs up, Megan, for the information.
Right. I'm glad it's helpful.
But the other thing for people is like because I got some of my money too. I got little nuggets here and there, and I got a couple of emails I still need to respond to from the SBA today. But people still have to be cautious and have some due diligence when they now start paying, right? Because I know that if you don't have an accountant, you need to make sure you monitor where this money's going.
Yeah. Yep. And even if you have an accountant, make sure they have some kind of a plan to track those expenses, because that's going to be really important, especially with the PPP, for when you go back and apply with the bank to get it forgiven. So if you're using QuickBooks Online, one really easy way to do that is to set up a class code or a customer where you can put those expenses under PPP specific, and then you can use that to track it. And then any expenses that you might use it for, make sure you're taking pictures of those receipts or putting them in a file or something like that that's specific to PPP, because you're going to need to bring all of those things back to the bank to do that. Another thing you have to look out for is if you have employees, you want to make sure that you're paying them at least 75% of what they were getting paid before COVID started. So they have to be paid at least at a 75% where they were at. The other thing too is making sure that you have the same number of employees, or about the same number of employees working for you as what you did before as well. So all of that is going to factor into forgiveness. If you're operating with less employees, then that's going to drop the percentage, your maximum percentage of being able to be forgiven. So those are like the 3 main things that you're going to have to look out for or track when you're talking about the PPP.
Yeah.
So, and they're still rolling out whatever that's going to look like over the next 8 weeks. I'm sure there's probably going to be more.
Right. And what I would say to those current rules is, if that is not your situation and you got the money, I would say keep going, because they may change the rules. So I would say just stay tuned in, be very, very aware, document. Because my gut says this is really taking a toll on a lot of businesses. And there are some businesses that are not going to be able to get to the level that they were at, as far as employees. So I would say just know that the rules keep changing, and document. And I think if anything I can emphasize is just document and make sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's, and you're not using this to buy a new Harley, or you're not using this, buy a new bedroom suite.
Or fund an expansion or something like that. Like it has to be used to
legit.
Right. Yeah.
It has to be totally legit, and you can line item it, basically, because I mean, that's what they want. They want to show that, hey, did pay off? Did help? And thank you. You're still alive, business. You're still alive.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I think that's what the SBA is trying to do, is keep businesses alive.
Yeah.
And that's the whole purpose of it. And it's really, really hard right now to get a hold of people to be able to ask questions, because it's changing and changing. And I know when I call and ask questions, one answer is something today and another answer is something tomorrow. So
yeah, and I think the reason for that is because as the SBA gets questions on different things, then they have to reevaluate, whatever the rules were at that point in time. Because the fact is that every small business is a little bit different in how they operate and how they work and who they employ and on all that kind of thing. So every situation brings up a different question. And as the SBA gets those questions, then they have to address them and figure out how it's going to work when it comes back to like recording and forgiveness and all of that kind of thing. So that's kind of why it's an ever-changing landscape, because one situation happens and they do something for that, and then another situation pops up, and then they have to figure out how to adjust the wording or the rules in order to accommodate that situation. So yeah, I'm expecting it to continue to be an ever-changing landscape. But to your point, Kat, make sure you document, because that's going to be the biggest thing. And that's always the case with the IRS or any kind of like government taxes, is over documentation is the best way to go, because then they'll dig less. So
because my advice would be go for the money, and just document and document and document, because at the end of the day, it's there to help you survive. That's it. It's just there to help you survive. It's not there to fund your vacation. It's not there to
Yeah, and I think they're even giving like kind of a grace period. I had just heard this. I'm not 100% on the details on it, but I think they're giving some kind of a grace period that if you don't utilize all the funds for the purposes intended, you can give those funds back without there being any kind of a penalty.
Right.
That's something to keep in mind too, is like, if you get the money and it's too much and you don't want to have to pay it back, you can give it back and then you don't have to repay it. So, that's another thing to kind of keep in mind too.
Yeah, the last thing I want, because I do hear this a lot, and I probably hear it more because I deal with all kinds of businesses, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, one team member or two, and they're like, I don't qualify. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Go apply.
Right.
I'll tell you don't qualify.
Yeah.
You need the funds to survive. Get your piece of the pie. If you don't use them, don't use them. If you don't, at the end of the day, it's like you said, if you don't need the money, give it back. But it's there, because we don't know how long this is going to last, and we don't know how this is going to devastate someone after the lockdown is done. And that's my whole thing, is this will carry on beyond the lockdown, And go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say to that point, because I know that they were talking about opening up stuff, but still maintaining the social distancing, not requirements, but whatever they call the social distancing suggestions, I guess. So, to that point, like businesses like salons that are usually crowded won't even be able to operate like that. So that's going to obviously decrease that revenue line from what it used to be. And there's no way to like fix that, because you got to maintain that, 6 feet, unless you get like a bigger place. But obviously, if you're lower income, you're not going to be able to do something like that. So to your point, it's going to have probably longer term effects than just this safe at home period.
And then the other thing was, I saw a country where the lockdown is gone, that they can go. Nobody was on the streets. People are gun shy, it's not like people are like going to be like out the door, like, hey.
So, I think it'll slow coming back also.
So I just want people to understand and know that, like, this money is there. If you can apply for it, please do. It's there. And the second round is slowly now coming out where people are getting it. And I think it's a little more gracious to true small businesses. I say
Yeah.
true, not these other big companies that were
Small
grabbing
business, right?
people.
Yeah.
So yeah. And so my advice to anybody is if you don't have a resource, if you don't have someone to help you out, Megan's available. There's other people, if I'm sure Megan can refer you to other people if you don't want to work with Megan or whatever. But
Yeah.
there are resources, and you just have to go and apply and get a hold of this money, because again, I think long term, and I love that this lady made the comment and had a story on what happens after,
Yeah.
because nobody's talking about that. Like what happens after? And you make
Yeah.
a great point is they're still going to adhere to these rules of one person in that office at a time, or, whatever, one person in that seat at a time. So it's not like you're going to have the 10 people clamoring, sitting and waiting, and things
Right.
like that. So those things will still be kind of iffy,
Yeah. Yeah, and I would even encourage anybody who might be in that situation or who is anticipating opening up to start thinking now about what that's going to look like for you if you adhere to those kind of social distances. Like go to your place of work, and figure out what 6 feet apart is and how many people you can get in, and then go back to your cash flow projection sheet and put those numbers in as far as like what your income is going to look like at that point if you were able to get enough people in there to fill it up. Like look at what those numbers are and look at what the physical requirements are going to be so that you can start factoring that stuff in. I know I did a call last week with a Meta Spa group, and so that's one of the things that they're looking at too. And I was just encouraging people to look at your costs and factor in those costs of the PPE that you might need to have in order to perform your services to people in order for you to be safe and them to be safe, because that's an additional cost that wasn't there before. You might have to adjust your pricing in some type of way and start calling people, start rescheduling and booking places now, over the next month and getting deposits for those kind of things, because that'll help your cash flow now as well, even if it's for a partial amount. So I would encourage people to start doing that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, no, and that's a great suggestion. And the other thing to also factor in is the clean time between your appointments, because the government is requiring that you sanitize the whole, So like when I went golfing this weekend, the carts had to be sprayed down with sanitation. You know what I mean? Like they had to hand wash every car every time.
Wow.
So that buys into the time. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
So
yeah, that's a good point. Yep. When you're scheduling that out.
Yeah. You don't want to be the place that, 30 people got corona.
Right. Yes. That'll shut you down for a while.
Right. You don't want to be that place.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So those kind of things are important to start thinking about now. That way you're prepared for when things open back up. Like don't wait, because the people that wait and procrastinate to like look at these kind of things that are important are going to be the ones that are left behind, or they'll get that headline, that an outbreak happened. So you want to make sure that you're ready to take back in new business, because that's really important, for your business to survive this.
Well, but you make a great point, because here's another example. I hear a lot of stories and I love this. So here's another example, because my girlfriend worked for this publishing company. Well, now they're no longer having an office. They're going to close that office and everybody's going to work from home. So they used to have an office, that they would come and check in or have meetings. And now, no, it's gone. Now they're saying we're going to get rid of the office. Everybody will now be a work from home employee, Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's a new trend almost, because I think a lot of businesses that didn't think they could go virtual are now saying that they can. And that's going to be interesting how that impacts everything else.
Well, it will impact the real estate world.
Right. Yes.
Because that's a lot of people that want to protect themselves and say, well, let's just be virtual now, It will probably pay favor to like the WeWorks of the world, and you know what I mean? the Regis of the world, because you
Right.
have stationary places where you can have remote meetings and have a conference room, but that's all you're gonna want. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So before we end this, Megan, we did get another comment from Daniel Faust. Hey, Daniel, thanks for watching. So Daniel made a couple comments as he was listening. He says, freedom in society makes rules, guidelines, and laws to change. I agree, Daniel. He also said your budget will take time to get to a new norm, which that's what we're
Yeah.
talking about. And
Yeah.
planning for it and making sure you're doing projections like Megan's talking about. Those are all smart things to be doing as you're trying to get back to normal.
Mhm.
And then not just PPE, but time overall clients that will, see, and that's the other thing he said, overall clients that are willing to come back. Because again,
Yeah.
people are going to hesitate. They're just, they're gun shy and they're afraid. And so, everything is going to take a while to get back to a new norm.
Yeah. I think people will have a better chance of coming back though if they know that you're taking the proper measurements to sanitize and keep them safe. Because I know, like for me, like I am ready for the salon to open so I can get my hair cut because I know my beautician's gonna make sure everything's good. But and I can say that I would probably say a lot of other people are in that same boat. Like, this is a long time to like not be able to do those kind of things that you were able to do before. So I would say that, like as a client for that kind of a place, as long as I know that they're taking proper methods to sanitize and keep me safe, like I'm fine with going back. But I do think that there'll be other people. I mean, like there'll be other places though. So like my kids, we had a membership to a bounce park or whatever up here, and so like that would probably be the one place that I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna go back for that that for a while, even if they open, right? Because like my kids are small, they put everything in their mouth, or kids just are kind of, not sanitary. So, and that kind of a place is a lot harder to sanitize than, maybe a beautician's or a nail salons would be. So yeah, I agree that there'll be some places that are definitely going to be way slower than going back than probably other places as well. And that's definitely something to keep in mind. That also might be where it's a really good opportunities to pivot or evolve, and to figure out a better way or a different way to do things,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And mobile businesses.
Yes.
I'm helping people right now. Melinda, a girlfriend of mine who has her own business, and she made a great comment over the weekend, and I loved it because she said, not everybody who's clamoring to want this to be over with is in it for greed. It's not about greed.
Yeah.
It's about their family still being safe and having to get the services that they need, like a physical therapist or, simple things like,
Yeah, I know I have a cousin who her son is autistic.
Right.
And so like they actually had to start bringing the therapist into their home because he was regressing, and so like I completely understand that. That it's really hitting everybody in different ways, you know.
So when people are clamoring and saying they want the lockdown done, it's not always a greed issue. It's not always for the nails or the hair.
Or the hair, right? Yeah, the things that are necessary. Yeah,
because it's supporting an elderly family member or children or anything like that, or pets too. So I just wanted to note that because Melinda made a great comment. I was like,
yeah, that is a great comment.
It's not always a greed issue, and I think when people are clamoring together and high-fiving and saying, let's get this. Oh, it's not always about greed,
Yeah.
Okay. Megan, thank you so much for being on the show. Any last words, how people get a hold of you? This is your last, give yourself
So you can visit our website. It's sidekick-accounting.com. You can also feel free to give me a call, 414-702-5012. And you can email me as well. It's Megan Megan at sidekick-accounting.com. And I am more than happy to answer any questions or concerns. We do free consultations if you're interested in our bookkeeping. And we do tax services if you need to get your 2019 taxes done so that you can apply for all these resources that are out here. Thanks so much for having me on.
When's the
tax deadline is July 15th. However, if you are going to apply for the PPP, as soon as possible is when you would want to get those done. So.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for that plug. I appreciate it. And if anybody has any questions after the fact, because we were not able to get the Facebook question, drop it. I'll tag Megan on all of the streaming so she can get those questions and she can get back to you guys. Thank you as always, Megan. Thanks for being on. I appreciate it. Great information. And if things change, we'll have you on again. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Absolutely. And thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions or if you want to be on the show, reach out to me. Let me know. I'm welcoming people. We had Daniel Gomez the other day. He did such a great job. And a lot of people reached out to me and said, oh my God, how did you get Daniel? How did you get Daniel? And he was absolutely fabulous. So anybody out there wanting to be on live with Kat, reach out to me and let me know. And let's get you on. And hope you have a great day. And as I always end this, be home, be safe, drink lots of water, be healthy, and you got this. I'll talk to you soon.